Hello, hello, hello. I am making sure that I'm everywhere, which I don't think that's happened yet. However, if you see me on Facebook, if you see me on the Instagram, if you see me on YouTube, please holler at a player and let me know. I think I'm everywhere. I'm pressing go live really hard. Everyone. Oh, I think it's working. I think we're in there. Okay. So let me know, please, if you see me on all the things. If you have never heard of me, if you have never heard of me, my name is Tenille Stewart. I help women who've been diagnosed with lupus or other chronic illness go from confused and discouraged to healed, hopeful, and in control of the medical narrative. Tonight, we come to you with a very special episode that is in the evening time. Did you know it's not noon? Weird, right? Super weird. I'm still looking for comments here. Who sees me? Texting people. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. 7 p.m. It's weird. It's a weird time. It's Monday. However, we have the most phenomenal guest, the most exciting guest, someone who I've known for so long, even though we're both really actually like 18 or 21 or like whatever young age. We're super young. But we've known each other since we were kids. And she is a super mom to not only like a regular child, a super child. You know, she's got 2 babies, a boy and a girl. She's got a husband, and she battled a cancer that I've never heard of in my life. So, we're going to talk to her today, Miss Wanie Heath.
That was quite the introduction.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, for the people who don't know you, which you be hiding, so people probably don't know you, who are you, and what do you like do? Tell us who you are.
Oh, well, that is a loaded question. Obviously, I'm Wanie Heath. Or is it over here? I am a 40-year-old mom who's been married for I don't even know how long, 15 years, 12 years, 13 years, 13, almost 13 years. Yeah, I am a coordinator for a wonderful organization that provides community rehabilitation to adults with developmental disabilities. And like you said, you know, I have 2 neurospicy kids myself. Ooh, that scared me.
What?
There's someone behind you.
Oh, they can see you. So. Wow. Close my door.
And I am jumpy. Yeah. I am jumpy.
Yeah. It's my mother. She's like, oh, it's Wanie. Yeah.
I just saw eyes and I was like.
Yeah. She's like, I heard Wanie. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a coordinator. So how long ago? I'm jumping right to the meat and the potatoes. Okay, vegan meat, obviously. So how long ago were you diagnosed with cancer?
I was diagnosed in March of 2022.
Okay,
so right like on the end tail of COVID and all of that. So that was fun.
Had you had COVID before then?
I have. I had COVID I think I got it in the last week of December of 21. Wow. So I was sick for about 6 weeks. About 4.5 of those weeks, I had a fever of like 102 or higher. I literally felt like I was going to die. Like I thought I was going to die. Turns out I just had cancer. So
turns out. So you had COVID and then immediately found out?
Yeah, so I see a lot of specialists because I do have rheumatoid arthritis and other things. But
Chronic illness, another one.
yeah, yeah. So I go to see a lot of specialists and I get my blood drawn probably like every 6 weeks between all of them. And if you go back, you can tell like the last year, all of my numbers were trending downwards. I think the COVID just helped them kind of bottom out.
Yeah.
And so it took them a few weeks after. Okay, rewind, because I want to be all over the place.
Yeah.
So I had COVID for a really long time. I went and saw a specialist right when I was like able to leave and go back. I saw my rheumatologist, and my white blood cell counts were extremely low. So I had to go back to my primary. They were lower than they were, the week before. He sent me to the emergency room. The emergency room was like, you just had COVID, that happens. Sent me home. So my rheumatologist was like, no, let's do them again. So the next week they were even lower. Went back to my primary, took them again. They were even lower. Get sent to the emergency room with like maybe 2 white blood cells, maybe like 2 of them.
Right.
And sit in the emergency room. This is at the end of COVID. Sit in the emergency room for almost 12 hours waiting to be seen. With no immune system to be
in
like,
the emergency. Sorry.
In the emergency room.
Yeah, I've been there, and I think that's so incredibly not smart.
Yeah. And then, so a hematologist came, and he was like, yeah, COVID does that, but we'll check you out in 3 months and make sure they're coming back up. So once again, my doctor's like, nope, we're going to do them again the next week. Or I think it was like a few days later, and they were non-existent. So he calls the hematologist and says, we need to get her in. They're like, okay, we'll do a bone marrow biopsy in 3 weeks. He said, no, you got to do it now.
Oh, yeah.
So I went and had it done, which I don't know if you've ever had a bone marrow biopsy.
I hated it. It was
the most barbaric thing you could ever go through, ever. Why don't they put you to sleep?
It makes no sense. And they're also like, don't worry. They're like, oh, everything is fine.
They're also like, don't move.
Okay.
I'm just going to drill into your bone.
Okay.
Don't move.
For the people who don't know, because I'm guessing everyone else doesn't know sick, like we know sick. So what they do is they take a needle for a bone marrow biopsy, a needle that is probably the size of a freshly sharpened number 2 pencil. So like, it's like this big, legitimately. Like, I'm an exaggerator, but I'm telling you, I will never forget that needle. Okay. And it's very skinny, and they just drill it directly into your skin, then bone, as if it is nothing, and take out a little cylinder of insides. Like,
well, they aspirate the bone marrow first, and then they basically chip off a piece of bone.
Right. I've had it done in 2 places.
I've had it done 3 times.
One of the places was really scary. It was like around my eye or something.
Oh
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was gross. It was weird. It's weird. I don't know. And like, I don't think.
And you're awake. You're awake the entire time.
Yeah. That part.
The entire time. They give you some lidocaine, which you can't numb the bone, so it just numbs kind of the skin they're going through.
And you can feel that though. Like, you can feel that when they get to the bone. It's the same as when they took the fluid off my lungs. Like, they numb all the around, but you can feel the stuff going into your lungs.
It's the worst.
Yes. Okay. So you get the marrow. the marrow.
So you get the bone marrow. They're like, here's an appointment for 2 weeks. We're gonna give you your results in 2 weeks. So I go home. They say you can't go to work for the 2 weeks because we don't know what's going on. And I'm like, nice little vacation. So I'm at home, and an hour later I get a phone call, and I kid you not, Tenille. Oh my God, you have cancer. You gotta get to the hospital. Literally, that's how the doctor told me.
Was the doctor
like,
your
you
homie?
need to go right now. Right now. What?
Was the doctor your homie? Like, were you friends with the doctor? Like,
no.
Comfortable with you?
No.
Okay, because I have doctors that would talk to me like that. And
he was in pure panic.
Pure
panic. And probably because he was the same doctor that kept trying to say 3 months, 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
He's like, you could have sued
Pure
me. Get
panic.
over here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was diagnosed with acute promyelocytic leukemia. So it's an aggressive form of leukemia. So that's why he freaked out. Which in my head, when you get cancer, like they tell you to bring a support person, you come into the office and someone like sits down and talks to you and tells you what's going to happen. But no, I just got a frantic phone call with, we're not sure what kind, you need to get to this hospital right now, blah, 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 blah.
In 2022.
In 2022.
People, I've spoken about how ridiculous bedside manner is and how nonchalant these doctors speak to us since, and I got diagnosed in ancient times, okay? And it is 2022 when Wanie got diagnosed and they still just called her on the phone and was like, cancer, get here, as if it was saying, we have pancakes, come get some. Like,
yeah,
it is outrageous. Speak to your doctors beforehand. If you have something going on, let them know how you want that to be handled. Let them know, if you call me and something is not good, I need you to talk to me like this. Be nice to me. I'm freaking out right now, because they're not thinking about your emotions. They're thinking about the urgency of the situation. However, the urgency is going to be worse for you in your own mind. You're going to make it worse. So tell your doctors how you need to be spoken to. Don't take that. That's rude. It's wrong. And it shouldn't be stood for.
And side note, that doctor left the practice a few months later.
Because they were probably saying, you are an idiot, sir. Pardon my language. But I'm sure, like, I hope that his boss cursed him out, because that's outrageous. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's ridiculous.
It's fine, because my attitude is very like, okay, what do we do next? Like, I was very, I mean, it was kind of hard to like tell my kids really quick and then run out the door.
Wait, rewind. What did you say to them? What?
Well, we just explained kind of like what it was, and then I had to go to the hospital. And mind you, this is like, I'm not going to the hospital and like coming home. Like, I'm going to the hospital for 4 to 8 weeks. Like,
wait, immediately that's what happened?
Immediately.
I thought you were going back and forth and then you ended up going. Oh, wow. I have my
No. So first of all, you have no immune system. So you go into isolation immediately. And then because it was COVID,
the height,
you don't get any visitors. So I was able to have 2 people on a list of visitors, and they could only come on certain days for certain amounts of time. And it had to be my mother and my husband, because they had to like bring me stuff and do things. So no kids, no one under 12.
Oh my gosh.
And you're in this room. Like, I'm in the same room and I ended up being there for 36 days. So almost 6 weeks.
Wanie.
So it's okay, because I brought my Xbox and I just played video games the whole time. But like, my poor nurses would walk in. The way my room was, there was like a big curtain, and then there were like glass doors, so you can't see the doors. So they would walk in and I wouldn't even notice, because I'd have a headset on. I'd be yelling, you know what people yell like during video games, and they'd be like, "I'm so sorry," and
cursing
I'm like,
and shooting people.
I'm not talking to you. Sorry. Yeah. So basically, I had about 40 minutes. Maybe, give or take, to grab my stuff, talk to my kids, contact all my family.
Wow.
Tell them what was happening, and then going to the hospital. Now, mind you, I'm cool, calm, and collective. But once I got to the hospital, I cried for a little bit, only because it was just so abrupt.
Yeah.
Not so much. Like, obviously, there's a little bit of trauma of having cancer, but like, I was kind of expecting it with, you know, the weeks leading up, and like watching my blood counts, and you know what I mean? There was always like leukemia came up on the search. Like, what does it mean when
you Googled it?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, I Google what my blood results are. So I'll put in like, if this is at this point and this is at that point, like, what could it be? And honestly, I thought it was going to be something much worse, which there's like a worse condition you can have where like a lot of my blood counts were at, called aplastic anemia, which is there's not a cure for. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my head was going. I have a friend who's a PA in Boston who was looking at my charts and looking at everything and telling me, like, realistically, this is what could happen. So I wasn't like completely blindsided, but it was just like in the back of my head. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think it was going to be real.
Right.
Like, it
Were
was
you
just kind of
keeping-
like,
beforehand, were you keeping like track of your blood levels? Like, is that something common practice?
because I go to so many specialists. I literally get my blood taken all the time. Because I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. So like sometimes I don't believe I have rheumatoid arthritis, but that's what I'm diagnosed with. So I've always, like, I have a few nurse friends and this PA friend, and I've always been like, hey, here's my blood work. Here's the notes. Tell me what's going on.
Right.
And this is actually going to be good going into treatment and stuff, because I was in that hospital. I knew what was happening all the time, where my counts needed to be, what the treatment was, because I always just did my research, and I would talk to them and they would be like, are you in the medical field? I'm like,
yes,
no, I just know what's going on.
I love that so much. People, pay attention. Be like Wanie to monitor your own blood. Pay attention to your own results, because they have a million patients and they care, but they don't really care. You know what I mean? Like,
and the number one thing I took from this was that regular doctors, like people who aren't specialists in blood, when they take your blood work, they're looking to see if it's within normal range. You could be within normal range on two things, but they're lower or on the higher side, in conjunction with being abnormal with something else, could mean 100 things. But you have a PA who's not well versed in blood, and they'll be like, well, everything looks normal, you're fine.
Yeah. And they will send your sick behind right home.
So I want to say it was about a week before I went into the hospital. I had something else happening, and I went to the gynecologist, and he ended up like lancing something. So mind you, no immune system. And I told him before he started, I go, I don't have any white blood cells. And he goes, I don't know what that means. That's exactly what he said to me. He goes, I don't know what that means.
What? Oh my gosh. No.
So he ends up lancing something, and I like bleed profusely everywhere. Because once again, at this point, I don't have platelets. I don't have white blood cells. I pass out on the table. I like wake up pretty quickly. And they were like, are you okay? Here's some juice. You can leave. And I was like, okay.
First of all, you came on my podcast to give me a heart attack, Wanie. I can't, this is too much. Like, what is going on? This is a medical horror story. I cannot.
It is. That was, and because that was, you know, between the COVID and the cancer diagnosis, like, was just a whirlwind for me. Like, I was just, everything was going wrong. And it was just like, okay, I just called this doctor or call that doctor. You know what I mean? And like, also, if you go to multiple doctors, get an internist that will coordinate your care, because none of them talk to each other at all. Please. Whatsoever.
Please. And I carry my chart. Like, print me some work. Print it out, because I need y'all to know what's going on with everybody. When you have any chronic illness, much less multiple, you need to have your doctor communicating. And they'll say they will, but oh baby, they will not.
They don't.
You are responsible. Or if you are sick enough, you need to bring a buddy that is responsible for making sure that all the doctors are on the same page, on the same accord. It is imperative. It is paramount that you and your doctors all know what is going on, because they have so many patients. It's not that they're trying to be rude or mean or ridiculous. They genuinely are overwhelmed. Like, imagine if you are overwhelmed with your one person caring for yourself. Imagine having hundreds of patients that you need to take care of. So you need to advocate for yourself. Yes, Brian, advocate for yourself. So 2 reasons that I have a huge interest of having you on this podcast, besides, you know, loving you and stuff, is you and I have a very similar sense of humor when it comes to being in the hospital and like not taking things too seriously. Like, life is gonna be life, and like, why freak everyone else out? And plus, we're really funny. So like, why not be funny? What do you think is the funniest thing that happened in the hospital?
I think I told you this story earlier. So I started at one hospital and I had to be transferred to a different, first of all, I was isolating in a different city, just so that you know.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
So I had to be transferred to another city. And so this is like probably like 4th or 5th day of being in the hospital, but first day of being in the new hospital. And I had a male tech come in and ask if it was okay for him to take my EKG. For those of you that don't know what an EKG is, it's when they put all the sticky stuff all over you and they monitor your heart. And he said, "Is it okay if I do it?" And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "Have you never seen titties before?
Yeah, I love.
Are you okay with it?"
Like, where's your mom? Were you not breastfed? We understand. You need a hug? Are you okay? Yeah, it's a hospital.
I was like, we're in a hospital. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, no.
Who's wearing any clothes besides a hospital gown? We are in a what? Do you work here,
Yeah.
sir? Did you just stop by to touch people? Like, what's going on? I just pinned the comment by Bren Harris, Loopy Comedy Tour 2025. Like, honestly, if we were just making hospital jokes and like doctor jokes, I'm pretty sure people would pay, especially the sick people. They would pay. They would pay. I'm just saying. So I meant to put this up earlier, but so how was that not being able to see your babies? I have this picture that is her favorite picture of her babies.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was definitely tough. I got to talk to them, and thankfully we live in an age with, FaceTime and all of that. I missed my daughter's first softball game that I didn't attend. It wasn't her first softball game, but the first one that I didn't go to. So that was tough. And then seeing that, I got to see them once. My husband brought them like to the lobby and they gave me like a special permission to go down into the lobby and visit them because they weren't allowed on the floor. So that was nice, but it was rough. It was definitely rough.
Another thing that, I'm so sorry. Like that broke my heart from a distance. And the reason that I knew all of these things is because my dear friend was keeping us all updated on Facebook. So not just like she was meticulous about it, which I loved, because I was just posting everything and I did not really care. I was like, yeah, here, everything. But she invited us all to a page, and like specifically, if you wanted to hear about what was going on, this is where to do it. And otherwise, she would post her regular silly stuff or share things that, keeping it light or whatever. What made you think to do that? Is that like something that
was out of my own convenience? I got so many text messages and like, I just didn't want to answer everyone individually.
Yes.
I was like, if you want to know, I will post things here. Other than that, like, I'm playing video games. I can't get to my phone right
now. Yeah. It's a lot. It is a lot.
It is. So, and I mean, I love it. And I'm grateful for everyone who reached out and everyone who helped and everyone who helped my family. But it's a lot. Like, a lot of people are texting you constantly. And you might feel like, oh, I don't want to bother you. I'm just going to text you this once. But that one's like 300 of the day. So, I mean, I don't discourage people from doing it, but that's why I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of a text message to somebody who is actively sick or like in a flare or in a battle of some kind medically, go ahead and feel free to put like, you don't have to respond. Or
right.
I hope you see this and, we will talk when you can talk, because there is a pressure. There is a like you hear that ding or you hear that vibration. You're like, I gotta say something to them. But
also, I'm starved for socialization too. So it's not like I didn't want to, but then like I was afraid I would forget someone, or like, you read them all the time and then you close them and you forget to respond. And then it's like, you didn't respond to that person. So
and it's exhausting. You're getting chemotherapy, which is basically nap juice. Like, that is insane to me. Like,
are you ready to get your mind blown again?
I'm afraid. Okay, go ahead.
Do you know what the treatment is for APL?
No.
It's the same everywhere, because this cancer, it's a rare form of AML. So about 7 to 8% of people with AML get this type of cancer. So the treatment, let me go into tell you what the cancer is. I didn't even tell you.
Yes, explain, please.
So the cancer is in the bone marrow.
Mhm.
So it's basically your body is making immature white blood cells and unable to mature them and put them out into the bloodstream. So your bone marrow is getting gummed up with all these like baby white blood cells. So in order to fix it, they unplug you and plug you back in, is basically what they do. So they give you arsenic and kill all your blood cells.
What? Why? What?
So they give you arsenic.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it's arsenic trioxide. It's a very low dose, but they basically poison you for 4 weeks straight. And then intermittent with that for 4 weeks, you take what's called ATRA. It's an all-trans retinoid acid, which is basically just a really, really high level of vitamin A, and that causes the blood cells to mature quickly.
Okay. So.
And that's all it is, just over and over and over again.
Yeah. And how long did you have treatment for? You had it for a significant amount of time.
So there's 3 phases. There's the induction phase. So that's the very beginning in the hospital. And this is where if you survive this phase, then your chances are 98% survival.
Okay.
But during that phase, you could spontaneously bleed out. You could have, I can't remember what it's called. There's this something where like your cells like separate. Like there's all these like that's why you have to be in the hospital, because there's all these like spontaneous things that could like basically instantly kill you that can happen within your blood cells.
Whilst it is happening to you, and what are you doing? Cracking jokes? You're just like, well, watch me survive.
Well, he said arsenic, right? When I was told for the first time, we're going to give you arsenic, I literally wanted to be like, arsenic and all lice. Like.
Okay, wait. Well, okay. But you know that regular chemo is a percentage of arsenic. Like a lot of them have a percentage of arsenic, but I'm guessing this is like a high. If they literally say
this is just arsenic, like there's nothing else in there,
which is so scary. And like, I understand. I've never had cancer. Thank you, Jesus. Let me knock on everything.
Knock on wood everywhere.
Right. However, it scares me. Like chemo scares me more than cancer, maybe, because of the fact that they all have arsenic in them, and the people administering it to you are straight suited up in hazmat suits, like can't touch it, don't touch
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, and then if it gets on something, if the chemo stuff gets on something, they have to like it's a huge deal.
They put signs on your door that are like radiation, like not radiation, but like basically hazmat signs all over your door that are like, don't come in here without that.
Don't, like, we cannot get this on ourselves, but you're directly putting it in my bloodstream. Somebody make it make sense. Like, what?
Yes, it's hysterical. I had, by the end of getting to remission, I had 102 arsenic infusions, and that's within 8 months. 102.
My brain will never be the same.
Now, arsenic makes you tired. It makes you kind of look a little green. But the ATRA, the vitamin A, is the worst thing ever. The worst. It like dries out your skin. It gives you sores. Like it made some of my hair fall out. Like it made me feel 10 times worse. Like the arsenic was like, okay, it's nap time. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to sleep it off. The ATRA, just every part of my body just felt awful all the time when I was on it. All the time. And then there's like, by the end, I was getting vitamin A toxicity, which could kill you.
Yeah.
Because I was just having too much of it in my bloodstream. That
they were giving to you.
Yes.
On purpose.
Yep.
I'm very concerned. I mean, you were giving me updates. I was reading the updates. I was sending you messages. I did not understand. Thank you very much for being on this podcast, because honestly, I don't think we would have had this conversation in depth like this. And like, y'all are genuinely sitting in on just like friends talking, because I didn't like, I thought I knew, but I had no idea. What show is that? That's a show from back in the day. Yeah, but like,
what show is that?
It's the MTV or something when we were kids. I digress. thank you very much for surviving, because I needed to have this conversation and needed to understand what was going
You're
on.
welcome. I specifically did it for this conversation.
I really thought so. I really do. I appreciate it. Your kids were, they really knew it was for me, but it's fine. I'm so grateful that you survived, and I'm so thank you for having this conversation, because I know a lot of sick stuff, and we talk a lot of sick stuff, but I genuinely didn't know a lot of this, and I know the rest of my viewers did not know this kind of stuff. This is insane, and
it is.
The fact that we can have this conversation, it is warrior status. It is super mom status. It is, you were needed here and to talk about this stuff. You didn't even want to do this really, because you're I'm going to be saying weird stuff. This is very important.
I always say weird stuff though.
Yeah, I like you though.
I have to tell you a little tidbit, little side note.
Go ahead.
So I get to my new room, right, in the new hospital, and I look out the window, right? I'm on the 6th or 7th floor. And you look out, and the only thing you can see is a cemetery.
Why? Oh,
isn't that insane? I was like, is it so they can just
what? They're we're gonna open the window and just
we just have a little chute to put them in. It was insane. As far as you could see, it's a gigantic cemetery.
Why would they should have just bricked up the whole window. That genuinely makes no sense. Where was the hospital that you were in?
So it's the University of Rochester, or it's Strong.
Okay.
Strong Hospital in Rochester, New York.
On a week with their planning of where to put cemeteries. But okay.
Yes.
Okay, last thing, and I promise I will let everyone go. We're going long, but this is just, we just have to. So how was the cost of doing all that stuff and being in the hospital and all that? How does that go?
So thankfully I have insurance. So the actual cost of the hospital stays was only a few $100s for copay.
Wow.
Now getting transferred from one hospital to the other was ridiculous, because they wouldn't let my husband drive me. It's about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours away. Wouldn't let my husband drive me because I had to be monitored. I specifically requested a certain ambulance company because I have a friend that owns it. And I have a friend who works in it and said I will come pick you up and I will do it.
Yeah.
But they picked a completely different company.
What?
Right? So I have to get in this ambulance. I have to drive. I get there. The copay for that one was $150 to begin with. And then they balance billed me after my insurance paid $3,500.
For a ride to the hospital.
Yes.
Listen, they lucky.
That was ridiculous.
You're lucky you sick, because the vaccine, the chancla that you would throw at them, what?
Oh my goodness. I was livid. And then probably throughout the year between copays and prescriptions. Now, mind you, so I got out of the hospital after about 6 weeks, and then I had to go to an infusion center every single day for 8 months.
Wow.
Every time I went, I got a copay for seeing each person that I saw. So I got 3 copays a day. So that's $90 a day.
For 8 months?
For 8 months. And so at the end of the year, just prescriptions and copays was about $16,000 out of pocket.
Cool. Yeah, whatever. Nobody needs to go to college or whatever. I don't need to pay my bills or just.
Nobody needs groceries.
No. What are you talking about? I eat chemotherapy. That's it. Arsenic. That's it. It's fine. Well.
Just a lot of arsenic.
Right. So what is after all this is done, or how did you find out that you were finished with cancer? They were okay, now you're done. You're going.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Probably not, but tell me anyways.
So Thanksgiving Day, I'm getting ready to go to Florida because I finished treatment and I was waiting on stuff, but they were yeah, you can go on vacation. I was going to Disney. So I get a little email that's portal message. So I go and it just says, no signs of cancer. Happy Thanksgiving.
Karate chop these people. I don't like anything about that. They're not like you called me frantic about having this cancer. You couldn't call me frantic about it being gone. Couldn't be like, oh my God, girl, guess what? Like nothing.
Like,
nothing.
I feel like people ring bells and stuff. Like, I didn't ring a
Right.
bell.
Could you do
Like-
something? We're theater kids. We need some theatrics, okay?
I was like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so that was it. And then like I see between my hematologist oncologist and my other oncologist back in Rochester, I see someone like every 3 months and they do blood tests just to make sure it's all gone. So like basically this type of cancer is kind of like a one and done. Like they reset you, you're good.
Mhm.
So they'll monitor you for 5 years and then they'll like do it more spaced out for 10 years. And then if you reach 10 years, basically it should not come back.
Right. That's good.
But all of this stuff is relatively new. The treatment is relatively new.
Mhm.
So I have a little bit of like nerve damage and other things from the treatment, which a lot of the time they're like, arsenic.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we supposed to do about it?
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That is so wild. I'm like, I'm glad you did all of the treatments and got to where we are right now. Like, it's beautiful. I'm going to read some of the comments before we go, because we are going to let y'all go. Thank you so much. Hello. Thank you for being here, everyone. Darren Walker says, God bless you, icon. I see you, warriors, says Win with Bren. Ideally said a bunch of things, but she said, you look beautiful. God bless your journey. People are generally scared because there's a lot of no ways, and oh my goodness. Someone says, Bren says, isolation sucks, and she said something about spicy rock somewhere. But yeah, we have a lot of comments and a lot of people, rooting for you and excited that you're here and thanking you for sharing your story. Hi, puppy. I just am in awe of how calm you stayed throughout all this with a whole entire family to, report back to, and your 2 babies who definitely need you, your husband who definitely needs you, and you're just a rock star.
Thank you.
I'm blessed to know you and that you're still here. And thank you for listening to me when I was sickly and complaining about you. Y'all, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I know I ran a little bit longer than I would normally, but did you hear the story? Did you hear the story?
Sorry.
It was a little crazy. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Just don't. No, I'm kidding.
But she's
I'm
not
on Facebook.
You'll
have to explain who you are if you're not already friends with me, but
right. But
I'll talk to people either with Neurospicy Kids or about my cancer journey. I'm not very good at it though. I'm usually just like, what can you do?
She is though. She lies. She said she was not going to be good on the podcast, but look at her. This was amazing. This was incredible. And yeah, she's full of knowledge and she's very nice. So hit her up, Wanie Heath, formerly Santos.
Formerly Santos.
Yes. And we will catch you later. Thank you for coming out in the night times. I haven't done a nighttime podcast in a minute. And we'll see you next Monday. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Wanie. Thank you so much, audience.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.